I was going to hold this. This is empty, but I heard that if you hold something in your hand, it makes you seem more professional. So I have this. All right, welcome. Thank you all for being here. It's kind of crazy to see this many people. I'm going to remind everybody that I'm an introvert and I don't like speaking publicly. So I think you all are the same way too, because we're creatives. So it'll be fun. I'm going to do a sequence break. Generally, when you start these things, there's a beginning, middle, and end. But I'm going to kind of start at the middle just to give you some framing for the journey, because I think the journey is the topic of conversation. I'm also going to start my timer so I don't go off time. Okay, and tell you a little bit about Avishar Barua's transitions and phases in life that got him to here, as opposed to, you'll probably hear about the Top Chef stuff. You've heard of these things 1,000 times, but my goal here is to kind of encourage and remind everybody that we're not alone. We always have somebody around that we can, see and learn together with, and not everything is viewed as, the successes and the wins. That's not the entire process of these things. So basically, I also used GPT to help me make the slideshow because I haven't been able to. So you can see this chili pepper sign. I created that. I said, draw a chili pepper in a bottle. And then I said, draw an upset chili pepper. And that's me. So basically, the story behind this is when I started cooking, that itself was its own journey. And I'm already going off track, but we'll start. It's a funny story. I was supposed to be a doctor, and the first time I made somebody feel something was when I cooked something for the first time. And it was based off of Martin Yan's book, Chinese Cooking for Dummies. I thought it'd be really cool to try to cook at the former Harrison building at Ohio State. And I read the directions very thoroughly. It said preheat the wok for 15 minutes, and it was a non-stick wok, so I might die in the next 2 years because of the. But I set it on fire. Basically, it was really cool. I was like, I'm going to make this spicy food. So I saw a fire come up. I threw in some habaneros, and I basically gassed the entire building. So the fourth floor evacuated the building because they thought there was tear gas. And so I literally made people cry with capsaicin. So and I said, wow, I've made someone feel it for the first time. This must be my career path. So anyway, so that's the beginning. So we'll start in the middle, when we talk about journeys. We always talk about the journey is towards the destination, right? And I think it's important to have a destination, but I think what's also important is if you don't hit that destination, or if something changes in your life, it's not over. It's actually one of the most important things ever is we get derailed a lot. 2020 is a good example. So March 14th is my birthday. In 2020, on March 15th, we decided to shut down all restaurants. All restaurants were shut down kind of across the entire country. And it's something that we did not prepare for. So when I was over at Service Bar, we were actually hitting kind of our swing. We received all the feedback, and we're like, cool, we got a team that's awesome. We had our kitchen team down. We figured out prep. We figured all these things out. And then we were greeted with the news that I had to let go 90% of the staff. And that's something that you don't prepare for, generally. That was not in my business plan. It wasn't my mission plan. The reason that even I started cooking was to try to make a difference in someone's life positive, and to be put into a place where you can't do that anymore, and you have no solutions. It's really, really tough. So I have here, this picture that we took that day, and that was what we called, a derailment, basically. We had a choice to make, and the choice was, are we going to do what is supposed to be done? We have a chance to just sit out and say, hey, let's ride this out, or do we want to remember why we're here? And why we were here was to try to make people happy with food. So we went from a restaurant that does no carryout, fine dining-ish, always trying to do the perfect thing, to how do we put a smile on somebody's face? And this exact picture shows all of the mise en place, all the stuff we had in our wok and in our fridge, and what we were going to intend to do with it. So in one day, we went from dine-in only, fine dining, to carry-out only, which was very, very challenging, especially since it was my birthday. So a lot of stuff had happened at this time. We thought there was no end in sight to what was going to happen because we didn't know what we were going to do. But instead of choosing to shut down, we chose to continue with our idea, our journey of trying to make the city better every day, trying to make some happiness in someone's life. There was so much uncertainty. We saw all the staff, and they didn't know. And we thought, well, maybe if we do this, we can help also feed them. And that's the middle part of the journey. Okay. So some excellent. This is. There's always reviews of things. So everyone always asks, "What do you do when you get a crappy review?" I get them all the time. Don't worry, I'm used to it. I'm so glad that people can't get over us. But when you do a pandemic, yes, we didn't plan for it, but we would say, yeah, if you switch your entire business model overnight. I think the timing could have been better. It's true, and it was very transformative. So we give this one a 10 out of 10. If it doesn't clear to you, this is not supposed to be super serious. I think there's enough serious stuff in life that you don't need somebody else standing here telling you what you should do. So I did take a picture of a little Instagram message I got, though, and it's interesting. It's hard to read, but it was interesting because when we went kind of full swing, and we didn't know anything about carryout, and we were hit with like 15 bad reviews in the first day of like, hey, disappointing, terrible, but it was kind of cool. That's what they were saying. These are regulars that were like just shut down, basically. However, we were also faced with a different thing because, so I started cooking because I didn't want to talk to people. I wanted to be in the back of the kitchen just making food. And in this place, I received this message on my personal one. I was like, oh no, they know who I am. And then secondarily, the entire staff was looking at me and they're like, what are you going to do? And I did the least logical thing. I chose to respond. But I responded in a different way. If it was pre-pandemic, I'd be like, what is this person saying? This is awful. This is terrible. Why would you say it? In the middle, we're like, oh, we're trying our best and it's still not good enough. And then in that, we found actually, if you look at it carefully, you get good feedback. It says, literally they said, the bottom part of the noodles were just plain and didn't have any flavor because the sauce didn't make it. That's true. Because it was put inside of a quart container. We don't normally do that. But there was a lot of useful stuff to see in this. And what I did is I actually sent them a message, and then I had a phone call with them. And I asked them, hey, we're just trying to bring you some happiness. And they're like, we know you are. This is why we gave you the feedback. Do you want to work on it together? And then over the next 3 or 4 days, we sent them through 3 or 4 more times, and they helped make our program a lot better. So something that could have been perceived as like really, really crappy ended up becoming, that was one of our regulars, and they come in, they've since left the city, but they're an awesome food person. And it was just taking this message and deciding what to do with it, reframing it instead of like a personal attack, because we were all kind of down. We saw it as like, if they didn't have a good time with this food, I'm not above the food, it's the food that is our product. So why don't we strive to make it a little bit better, And I thought that was fascinating. And it doesn't happen all the time, but this time it worked out pretty well. I'm going to try to focus on positive, so I won't give you the stuff that I have in the backboard. So as we went on, we continued our journey, and everything else happened. And now that we've covered the middle ground, we're going to go back to the beginning, where the first derailment happened. And this was going on in my head when I decided that cooking was going to become the future career. So it's a real-life comparison, doctor versus chef. Oh, thanks for the image. Awesome. I didn't put that in the slide. That's really cool. You'll see there's a lot of comparisons. The paycheck is not comparable, but we both wake up early with anxiety. This is a good example. Here I am. I'm early. It's anxiety. These days, so when you're a doctor, you look at your patient charts. You have to look at known allergies. Every day in our restaurants, we look at guest requests, and you'll never see an end to it. It's actually really fascinating. I won't share it because everybody has different restrictions and things, but you get a good chuckle out of it sometimes because you're like, how did you find out that you were allergic to black truffle? Like, what environment were you in? We're like, man, this is too much black truffle. I can't have this. This is ridiculous. But just that. Saving lives, all this stuff. You could read it. It was just intended to give you some reference. But this was a comparison that I made when I didn't have any idea of what I was doing in my life. I did go to Ohio State. I had my career set for me. There was no cooking. There was no nothing. It was, you're going to be a doctor. And it's really, looking back at it, it's easy to say. Living it was very challenging because a lot of people are like, these are my hopes and dreams, and I didn't have either of those because my hope was to please my parents. My dream was to become a doctor and was programmed into me as a child. So that was always the goal. And when I did not hit that goal, it was very, very difficult because what do you do now? Like, do I try again? Do I try to force it? I'm not sure. I had never viewed myself as smart enough because the academic system I was on academic probation. I didn't do very well academically, so it didn't seem like it was a possibility. So what did I have to do is I derailed the journey and I had to start with a new destination. So instead of medicine, it became, what can I do with my life? So yes, we went kind of in the process. I graduated from Ohio State. I got the 2 degrees. I did fail organic chemistry. I did fail biochemistry. I didn't do so well on the MCATs. I took the MCATs. When I took the MCAT, I realized it was a test that was testing my ability to take a test and not medicine. And I was like, this is really weird. I don't know if I'm comfortable with this. So all I could do is kind of hide in shame and be like, okay, what am I going to do? I had psychology. Psychology was excellent because psychology allowed me to justify my emotions and say that, hey, it's okay. You can do these things, or hey, I'm not such a failure. That was an interesting thing. But I chose, maybe being a psychologist was not the best thing because a lot of my friends, their parents are psychologists, and they suggested that I don't become that person either. So now I just do it for fun. I can manipulate people for fun. Anyway, that was the part of the process that I found very, very challenging. I think everybody can relate, as we all have a place we want to go. And sometimes we're so focused on the destination that we don't think about everything that we learn along the way. And what I did learn along the way was, in my, I'll just jump forward twice because I know I had a slide about this somewhere. Here. That's cool. So this is interesting. I didn't know how to do this, but the AI taught me this yesterday. So if it's terrible, I know you guys are creative, so you're going to judge like the little gray area over there that I messed up. But I made that. That's pretty cool, right? And then this comes up. Wow, yeah, okay, cool. So I spent more time on that than the rest of the slideshow, just for the record. Because I have to appear to be professional. So let me see here. Okay, yes. So we'll go to here because I think this is more relevant right now as the jury so far. What happened was the plan. The plan was, hey, kindergarten through 12, what was told to me is straight A's unless you're a failure. So not straight A's, A pluses, because somebody else's kid is an A student, and I have to be smarter than that somebody else's kid. It's unacceptable for me to be comparable or less. So A pluses, college, NEO, UCOM. I don't know if you're familiar with this program, but you go from undergraduate to doctor in basically 4 years. It's very intense, and I have some friends that did it. There's, become a successful doctor. And this part is this work until everyone is proud, somehow make friends, get married, and all this work stuff, rinse and repeat. Maybe private practice, retirement. I don't know what that is. That was the plan, right? This is what kind of happened. And, thank you, Signs and M. Night Shyamalan for making a couple of good movies along the way. Kindergarten through 12th, I did go to Columbus Academy, so my parents sent me there because they wanted me to have the best education possible because they came from Bangladesh and they didn't have access to a lot of these things, so they thought if I did this, it would be better for me. K through 12, I was on academic probation. I almost got kicked out twice, and I don't really talk about that very often, but it was very challenging. When you're in second grade and fifth grade to be told that you don't do school well, but they keep you there. It's interesting. College, failed OChem, biochem. Took psychology to feel better about my life. That's worked out. I got a job at a restaurant. That was an interesting thing that happened amongst this failure because I was like, hey, if I'm not going to be doing this, at least let me make some money on this side. And I will. That's another conversation that we can have another time about that. But I just wanted to make money to play video games because I like video games a lot, and they're there. It makes you smarter. Whatever. If I had stuck with that, so just another sidetrack. If I had stuck with video games because I was really into them from kindergarten to like forever, and I told my parents, I was like, one day I'm going to become a professional gamer, and that market did not exist. So I was like, I'm going to take a video of me playing video games. So what if I had done that in the early 90s? That would have been crazy. Speaking of, yes, decision making and making plans in the journey. I watched a lot of Food Network because I never had cable as a kid, but my roommate had it. So I was like, cool, this is how I'm going to get better at food. It was really cool to see how somebody on the TV could make such a difference in my life because they're just like, hey, I'm going to show you how to make this thing, and then maybe you can make it. And 95% of the time you don't make it, you just order some pizza and you watch it, and you're like, one day I'll do it, I understand that. But I was on the side there, I was like, hey, let me try. And I got to see, I was like, if this person can do it, I can do it. And then my mom used to watch it with me and comment, like, why are they putting butter on everything? Why are they saying it's seasoned and they're just putting salt on it? She had her own opinions. Like, I think there's that Paula Deen stuff, and she's like, what, she put butter, and then she put cream, and then cheese. And she's like, she already put cheese. Why'd she put cheese again? I don't understand. Like, why is there so much cheese? So it was very good bonding moments. A lot of Food Network back then. And then the third one was kind of important, was I watched all of my friends succeed around me, and I had no idea what I was doing or what I could contribute. All I knew is that I'd like to watch food TV and play video games. So that was the journey. After college, basically, I had 1 year, and I never planned on taking this year. And from my parents' perspective, it probably wasn't pretty hard for them to see, but I didn't, do really anything. I worked at my uncle's store. I was just trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do. I had a really bad relationship that kind of broke apart. So I was in a low point in my life and didn't know, I was like, maybe I'll just hedge another relationship and I'll just go be with this person. That'll fix everything. That didn't seem to work out either. So in that time, I had a lot of reflection and I kind of exhausted other options. I looked at, maybe getting an MBA, maybe doing these things. I didn't even know where to begin. And then because of my kind of academic trauma, it was really challenging to see what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? There's nobody that can give me any advice because everyone's like either a doctor or successful in this way, or they haven't really seen this level of journey derailment. And so, in spite of all other options, maybe I'll just cook professionally. Maybe I remember my time at the restaurant, and that has always been in the back of my head. I noticed that I had a lot more cookbooks than textbooks. I noticed that I had a lot more cookware than anything else in my entire life. I was basically working at Sur La Table, and I became a top 10 customer of Sur La Table while I was working there. So, by the way, I was only making $8 an hour, and their stuff's expensive, and I get 50% off. So that gives you an idea of how much cookware I currently own. But I found that it was kind of cool to have all these books and all this cookware, and people were like, man, you have a problem. And I realized at that point, I don't have a problem, I have a career ahead of me. So, and now we use that cookware still in our restaurants. That was the decision point where it was, hey, do this or do nothing. And so I thought maybe I'll try cooking. And I started by delivering food, and my parents were like, "You're not going to deliver food. We spend all this time, all this money, all this. Go do something else. You're not going to deliver food. We'll look at programs of medical school outside the country." And I had an honest conversation with them, and I just said, "Hey, like I don't really know like if this is for me." And I've never said that before because I don't even know what me is at this point. But I said, I do like this though, and what I do remember is my mom makes very good food, and everybody shows up at her house to eat every day, my entire life, 3 times a day. Other friends and family show up, families and families show up. Everybody asks my mom for recipes, and I realized there was a lot of weight to that really wasn't being explored. Like that can't be going away. Well, we had 2 sons. My brother was the trailblazer. He's the first one that decided not to be a doctor, so they doubled down on me. And then I was the second option. I was like, hey, who's gonna do this? And all these things started to click in a way that didn't really make sense, but it was enough for me to take a step to say, hey, let's see what we can do. And that was my idea. Was I'm gonna go to New York, do these things, learn the method. My parents were like, no, let's compromise. You're gonna go to school. So after graduating from Ohio State, which I barely did, by the way, it was very tough. I did get 2 degrees, but it doesn't mean I was smart. It just means that I took the right classes at the right time and had the right professors and bribed them the right way. So at the end of that, they said, go to the best of the best. So I applied for CIA, Culinary Institute of America. I got in, which it's an amazing school. It's a beautiful campus. And something just felt a little off for me. I didn't feel like I could spend that time in New York, like isolated in this way. Instead, I saw Columbus State had a chef apprenticeship program, which would allow me to both see my parents be home and actively work for 3 years, get 6,000 hours on the job. And I realized that if I committed 3 years and got 6,000 hours on the job, I could probably figure out if it was for me or not. And that was an interesting decision because I had no intent to go into culinary school. And still, when I talk about it, I think it's beneficial depending on who you are. It isn't beneficial for everybody, but it helped me focus on cooking as my career path. So I had to commit 3 years to it, and I did the best to commit those 3 years. And that was at a place called 1808 in Delaware. Then we opened to Veritas, and then after that, the journey began again. So to continue, so after the 1 year of wandering, we pursued the thing amongst discouragement, commit self to craft. We build a better future, which was important. Out of everything that I remember, I just remember the feeling of feeling alone. And I don't think anyone deserves to feel that way. So that is why we do what we do and nothing else. Like that's kind of our basis for our business every single day. We say if somebody came through that door, you don't know what kind of day they're having, try to make it a little bit better. And there's so much relating that I think a lot of creatives actually have in common is because you're creative for a reason. You're creative for you to one degree, but you're also creative because you want to create something for somebody, right? And try not to forget those things every day. I kind of gave up on self-doubt because I was kind of bored of it. I was like, man, I've been so insecure for the last 5 years. Let me just try something else instead. And we went for it. And then, this business thing, that was a tough decision to make as well, too. This was like the third audible, and all of this was, I would be perfectly happy flipping a burger for the rest of my life because there's so much fun and so much love behind it. But it doesn't help more than that burger at that time. I think that building community is really important. Building business is a strong way to appeal to others, and we're due for making some changes in society, and that only happens if you commit to it. So business made the most sense. Like it's really cool to be able to see so many people and to give them a product that came from this story every single day. And all of those things happened because I was derailed from my original journey and ended up in another place. The plan is still, work until everyone is proud is still on there. Somehow make friends, still on there. I don't know, get married, I'm not sure about. Rinse and repeat, 100%. Those things still stay. Those don't go away. And I don't know what retirement is, but it seems like the results of this have exceeded the expectation of what I thought was going to happen with this specific path. So going back here, let me go back here now. Something that happened, good on time, okay, I'll go fast. I did end up on TV. This was an interesting, and I call journey and destination, the word journey I can replace with existential crisis every single time. Because I mean, you're like, oh, I'm going to go to climb Everest and I have no clothes. That's basically what this is. So this entire thing happened and I thought it was a joke because why am I on TV? It's me. I've lived my entire life. I'm the guy in the corner. Why is this? Why do they make me fold? I hate folding my arms. Why do they do this to me? And now I see this everywhere. I'm like, this represents the 4 things that I hate about my career path. And now it's me. So I lived through this, and I can still go on. When that happened, literally, I was like, it's Columbus, Ohio. There's no way this is happening. And people don't believe me, but you can ask the staff that was there. I was like, it's a joke. I'm not gonna go. What they're gonna do? They're gonna pick me up in a plane. Somebody is playing a joke. They're gonna drop me off at Cleveland. It's gonna be some kind of ha punk like Ashton Kutcher's gonna come out. It'll be hilarious. And I was so convinced that literally in my mind had convinced me that it wasn't real until the cameras started. And so if you watch the first episode, they do a good job at editing, but holy crap, like I was like, uh-oh, like we're going live, like it's like, oh, we're live. So I had to go into my like innermost, like, improv, do stuff, figure it out, rely just on instinct alone. And that was enough. Something they didn't talk about in this first episode is both of my teammates cut their fingers like right away. It's the one mistake you never want to do on TV, which is another topic of conversation. It's really fun. But the one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to cut your finger because you can't continue to cook with your finger cut. You have to raise your hand, and they can just take you out right away, and people don't want to see that sort of stuff. So it's an amateur mistake, but I would say 60% of the chefs within the first 5 minutes went boom and cut. I did not do that, so that's my proud moment in that. This entire thing that happened was a struggle for me because, again, my entire time I've liked being in kitchens and just making the product. I think the product can speak volumes. If you make art, you know what your art can mean. If you do something, you take a picture, the result is what you're proud of and what you want people to see. You don't want people to see your bad work. And when you do TV, they get off on you messing up. So it's like that's like their thing. So I knew that if it was against me being the quiet person in the back, this is going to change that. And then I thought about it a lot, and I thought about if this is Avishar Barua, if I am in California or something, and I'm an 18-year-old or 20-year-old, and I'm in high school, and I have a hard time with my career, what am I going to do? And I need some help in my journey. If I saw somebody maybe like me, that was just an everyday person that got on here, it could be encouraging. That was ultimately got me to decide to do the TV thing, because otherwise it's very, very challenging. It's very nerve-wracking. And the weirdest thing is, like, to this day, I have like people who I don't even know how people 7-year-olds on Instagram. I don't know why they're on there, but they'll message me and say, "Hey, you don't know how to cook rice." And so I'm forever known as a person that doesn't know how to cook rice. Rice was even before I cooked. My mom showed me how to make rice. So there's more to the story, which is not important for now, but that is now how I'm identified as the guy that messes up rice on public television. I took a stat. 5 times I messed up rice on public television, yes. The time I got sent home, I didn't mess up the rice. So I actually did better by messing up rice than not messing up rice. I remember that. I was, recognized as that chef from TV. That happens sometimes. More often is there's some other Asian chefs out there, so they think I'm them sometimes. And at some point in my career, even before, there was a guy on American Idol. His name was Sanjaya. Yes. So in my early restaurant days when I was in college, I had a lot longer hair. And it happened so often that I just started taking pictures of people. I was like, yeah, I'm Sanjay, whatever. I just assume the identity. It's fun. Yeah. So if it makes you happy, I'll do it. I'll take a picture with you. Whatever. What harm can happen of this? It seems like it worked out okay. The funniest part was he was still on. So they're like, "What are you doing? The show's still going on." I was like, "It's pre-recorded." And Simon is actually a very nice person. And that was. Which again, we're talking about journeys, right? That's a journey. This happened. I'm happy that this happened because it allowed me to experience it from firsthand, which means that if somebody wants to do TV, I can at least give them some feedback about, hey, what is not fun, what's fun about it, the process is interesting. I think it's interesting to set a plan for a destination, but I think what you do along the way is always interesting. If something happens that's not according to plan, it's not the end of it, which is why I say I'm a terrible planner. I'm more like impulsive, spontaneous, instinctual. But I have an idea in mind of where I want to go, I think. I think having an idea of what you want to do in life is always important. And if you change that or something doesn't work out, it's also okay. We put so much pressure on saying, hey, we got to get here, where we forget that, like, we're not, again, there's 100 people here. Like, there's so many people that you could have with you on the journey. And then when you do that, like, you get to make meaningful connections. You get to learn so much about others. You get to create original things. I think those are some awesome stuff that I never expected to get along the way. So when people ask me, like, hey, journey, what's this? Is this like your highlight? It's a highlight, but it's not expected. It wasn't something that's like I'm super proud of. I'm excited that it happened, but it was never the goal. One more time, we'll load the bar because it's awesome. I'm going to add a sound effect next time. So, yeah, I think it's these are the things that did get to happen. I mean, I keep getting chances to pursue progress, and I never thought talking to people would be progress, but I like this because it gives me a chance to share something or spread something or increase the morale. I think we can all use those things. I get to be creative every day, and this is interesting because everyone's like, "Oh, you're creative. You're sitting in the kitchen and you're designing a dish." No, have you seen what happens if the gasket falls off of a dish machine? Have you seen what happens when a toilet clogs and you don't have the right tools? I get to be creative in many other ways. Do you see what happens when you have a conflict between a server and a chef? These things happen all the time, or a guest decides something in the middle. I have to think of creative solutions. It's a different sort of creativity. And then I have to be creative in ways to find futures for the staff. It's not about me anymore. It's about we have an entire team and family that really wants, looking for encouragement, looking for ways to get stuff done. It's my job to figure those out, and I don't know the answer, but I'm willing to figure it out. So that's a different sort of creative. My parents are now forced to be proud because I named one of the restaurants after my mom. So I think that was the once that happened, she's like, oh, well, shoot, nah, I can't, like, what are we going to do? It's either I hate myself or I hate you. It's not possible. So I think, as we were saying, hospitality and inspiration is something that we all have within us. I believe that every person wants to do something better for somebody else and themselves, and along the way, it takes both. I don't think that anyone really is out there to be like, hey, I just want to destroy everything. There might be a couple, but that's not the topic of this conversation or these groups. I think the journey is more fun than the destination. It's sometimes fun to drive fast, to drive slow, to do your own thing, and learn along the way. And it's very, very cheesy, but it's held true more because once you get there, you're like, what do I do next? And then if you look at something to do next, then you're still in the journey technically, right? You haven't hit the destination, which I think is really fascinating. Be prepared for audibles and pivots. Don't look at them as a bad thing. At the time, they will always look bad. Whenever anything happens, you're like, this is it, But psychology has taught me that it just is an emotion, and guess what? You can look at an emotion and say, hey, that's an emotion from the outside. It doesn't mean it's what I have to do. It just means it's how I feel right now, right? Just because you feel a certain way doesn't mean you have to do something. It just means that your body's responding to your plan, and you can adapt and you can improve. And then, yes, this animated bar, I'll never get tired of that. And then, what happens all the time is people always ask me what's next, and what's next is right now. What do I do every day? What can we do to improve everything at the same time? It's not just about, hey, am I going to open another restaurant? It's not about, hey, is this the future for step? It's about, hey, what are we doing here? It's a good question to ask every day, and I think that the coolest thing is like we often forget, like we get so lost in the dailies that we forget that. Look at how many people are here. Like it's serious. I've met some of you, and some of you have showed up, and it's so cool to again not feel alone. That's the most fun part about the journey. And I think I have yes. This is I think I've gone over my time, but it's your turn now. And I think all of this is just meant to inspire conversation. My favorite part of these things is not sitting here and lecturing. I think lectures are boring and talking is boring, so I try to do irreverent slides and things to keep your attention for long enough for you to spark conversation amongst yourselves and then ask me questions. Questions are how I learn. Curiosity, I think, is always fascinating. If I didn't have questions, I wouldn't have started the journey. So ask questions.